Hey guys, welcome to Algos Explained. I'm David Kim, and today we're going to go over an algorithm question dealing with going through objects. And so, the input's an object, it's going to have an item, and it's going to have the number of times the item, or just a number, and that's going to represent how many numbers you want to put in the array, which is the output. Array with everything flattened out, that's what it means. If you see 2 pies, if the value is 2 with the key pie, you want 2 pies in there, 5, you want 5 sodas. If you want 1 cake. That was a very brief explanation of the question, but funny thing, I recorded this like twice and it crapped out on me, and so, but what was happening was I was running out of memory, which was why I was canceling. But anyways, you guys get the idea. The approach that I want to take is kind of, or before the approach I want to take, let's talk about the approach. If you're going through an object and you want something like that in the end, how are we going to do that? We can understand that kind of by thinking about how we would shop for such an item. Say you need to buy 2 pies, maybe that's on your grocery list. You're at the grocery shop and you go to the pie section. Most likely you're going to grab 2 pies, or you're not going to leave the pie section until you have those 2 pies. Once you go to the soda, you're not going to leave until you have 5 sodas. What's not going to happen is you're not going to go to the pie section and then put in only 1 pie in your cart, go to the soda, put in only 2 sodas, go to the cake, grab the cake, and then have to go back to the pie section. Most of the time, we take care of an item once we get to that lane. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Somewhere in our code, we're going to complete the action of putting this key of this value, or of this many values, inside our array. And that action right there, that kind of sounds like a helper function to me, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to put it all in one function. You get to decide whether you like it or not. At the end of this video, I will show the helper function one. I wasn't sure at first because everything, my videos were canceling out, but now I know I have enough space. I'm going to put that in the end of the video too. So what's going to happen is we're gonna do this function all within one function, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like to have used the helper function with that. So let's get straight to it. Let's call this function shop. Let's shop, and we're going to go through an object, and we are using ES6 syntax in JavaScript. And so you might want to use better variable names than what I'm doing. We're going to create that array first, so we're going to call it cart. And the next step is we're going to have to go through this object. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this. I don't think I did. I think it was in the part that I cut out. Very simply, we can have any positive numbers or 0. We're not going to get a negative. And if you're not clear about that, or if the interviewer didn't mention that, definitely ask them. That shows them that you are aware of these potential edge cases that might try to throw you off, or that might potentially throw you off, cause a bug in your problem or your code. So we have that. We have the cart. We are now going to have to go through the object, and so let's do for. Let's just call it key in obj. And cool. So key in obj, and so this is a for loop that's going to go through that object, and pretty much what we have to do is put that object inside this, or no, put that key, this key inside this input or this output array, this array that's going to be our output that many number of times. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have another for loop in here, and kind of where this for loop is going to be, that could be where your helper function is, because that is what's going to be doing that injection task for us. And so let's see, we have the key object, we have the value. So let's just call that out. Let value equals object key. And that I realize that is not kind of what I'm thinking about right now. This is num. That's what I'm thinking it is, and that's what it is. So object of key, that's num. The key itself is the product, and so we might even want to call it item. And you know what? I think I will do that. So we will try to use better names. Let item, so obj item, we're going to leave that num. See how it helps us? Now we know item is very clear rather than using just key. And we might have even called this object not obj but list. But anyways, let's see this. We have num, and now we know how many times we're going to have to put this item inside our cart. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a for loop in here. So for let I equals 0, I is less than, and let's see, less than num I plus plus. And let's see if that is correct. Say we want to put 2 in there, we're going to have I is 0, so we're going to put 1 in there, given that we have this logic. I is going to be 1, we're going to put that in there, and now we want that to end. I is going to go to 2, and 2 is less than 2, that's false, so it won't. So okay, we are guaranteed that it will put in the right amount inside the cart, and so this is the action of putting in the cart, so pretty much cart.push and the item. And so that was pushing in the cart. You might already tell why I didn't want to really use the helper function, because it's just that. And so once we have that in there, I think we're done with this for loop, because that was the main thing that we're going to do. Once we get to the next object, we were looking at pi here, and after that for loop, we're going to just go on to soda. And so at the end of this, we should have everything in our cart. And once we return it, is that, and one thing is we don't have to worry about order. Of course, the pies are going to be together, and sodas are going to be together, but it wouldn't matter whether pie or cake or soda came first, mainly because we can't guarantee that with an object. And so once we have this, let's go ahead and kind of run through it with our example. And at this point, you might want to even run through it with a different example, but we'll just use this one just for the sake of making this video a little shorter than it already is. Object, that's going to be our list. And so that's going to be pie, soda, cake with 2, 5, 1. We have a cart with it, which is an array. And so let's go ahead and start writing stuff down here. Our cart, and so let's do that. Our cart is an empty array for now, and we'll just do that. And so for object, so we're going to say the object obj is pie, soda, cake, pie, 2, soda, 5, cake, 1. And so with this for loop, we're going to be looking at the item in the object. And so right now, the item equals pie, given that this is kind of the order we're looking at in, and num becomes whatever object of pi was, which is 2, just 2. And so now in our for loop, we're going to do I is equal to 0, I is less than 2, and then we're going to do it as many times to the number right under this num, which is going to be twice. We're going to go from 0, 1, and then we're going to stop there, which is perfect. We only want to push it twice. And so after that first iteration where the item was pi and num was 2, we're going to have pi and pi. And now we finish that. We're going to get to soda. And so this is soda. And this is 5. And so what happens here, we're going to go through this for loop. And don't worry about I having been incremented here. Once we get to the start of the for loop, it's going to be 0 again. This time, when it's going to be less than 5, that's when we'll stop. It'll hit 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. Yeah, so we're going to do it 5 times. Soda, soda, soda. One more. And now, at the end of that, we're going to go back to the for loop. We're going to jump to cake, and that's going to be 1. And we're going to do it until I is less than 1. 0 is less than 1, that's good, we're going to do it. We're going to push the cake in there. I++, I is now 1, 1 less than 1. Doesn't work out, so we're gonna go through, there's no more things in the object, so we're gonna move down here. We're gonna return what we have in this cart, which is exactly that. And so that shows that this code works. What I'm going to do now is kind of show you what it would have looked like if we used a helper function. And so, yeah. So what we have here is, having used a helper function, instead of, you might notice the for loop here is gone. Instead, we have an inject cart function that takes in, or we can look at this to see what it takes in. It takes in an array, an item, a number. In this case, we're throwing in the cart, we're throwing in the item, and we're throwing in the num. And this over here, those matter. Here, what we call these, it doesn't matter as long as we use them here. Inject cart is going to pretty much just kind of take this array and throw in the item this many number of times, which is the exact same for loop that we had in here. And by doing this, this is going to kind of manipulate the array, the input array, kind of like an impure function, but it does the job. That's exactly what we want it to do. And so in the end, I mean, one of the reasons why we don't have to do like cart equals this new cart now is because this function doesn't return anything. Its sole purpose is to is pretty much to mess up this array in the way we want it to. And so I think definitely some people are against that, because there's a whole group of people who love pure functions. And I think I'm part of that group too. I definitely don't want side effects to be kind of what I'm making the function for, but in this case, that is what it is. If you don't want to use a side effect, you can kind of, I guess you would have had to create a different array, push into a different array, returned it, and then made cart equal to the return value of this inject cart function. But anyway, this is kind of what it would look like. For a simple question like this, where kind of this alternative little bit of code that looks like it could help in a helper function is so small that it might have been better off to just put it in here. Different questions, you'll see that helper functions will definitely clean up the code more, especially when you have multiple things that need to happen. Helper functions are definitely a good thing. And if you do have a chance to use helper functions, I always recommend you do. And so this question was about going through an object, reading the data from that, and making it put that inside the array. Doesn't have a title, I just thought of it. And so, if you enjoyed that, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm David Kim, and I'll see you in the next one.